Hi everyone. Today we're going to be looking at fractions, particularly equivalent fractions, but we're going to have a quick whiz through looking at fractions of numbers as well. Now, some of you I know are filled with fear and dread when I say the word fractions, but you've all done all of this before, and I know that you can all do it. You've all got your level 6 of your tables, and you can't do that without being able to do fractions of numbers, so that's the first thing. So I know you can all do that. And then moving on to equivalent fractions, we did do these last term, so this is just a refresher. Okay, now the first thing that you should be doing today after you've listened to this is going to the My Maths lesson. Some of it moves quite quickly, but I think you should be okay. Just take your time, and if you aren't sure of anything, then please come to the Zoom session and we'll go go through it in more detail. The first part of the My Maths lesson is looking at fractions of numbers, so it will ask you what 3/5 of 15 is. Okay, so remember, if you want to find 3/5 of a number, let's write this down. So here we've got 3/5 of 15. So you're going to divide 15 by your bottom number, so divide by the bottom. Okay, remember that. So 15 divided by 5 is 3, and then we're going to times, so that's the first thing you do, and then the second thing you do, you're going to times by the top number. Okay, now remember there are some fancy words we could use for the bottom and the top number. The bottom number is the denominator and the top number is the numerator. Now you don't need to know that, that's at this stage. You will need to know it later on, but if you remember that, that's quite a good thing to remember. But the key to doing fractions of numbers is that you divide by the bottom number and times by the top. So going back to our question, if you divide 15 by 5, you get 3, and then if you times 3 by 3, you get 9. Okay, so that's dividing by the bottom number and timesing by the top. So that's the first thing that you will need to do. And I think the first 3 or 4 sections of the My Maths lesson deal with fractions of numbers, and then you move on to equivalent fractions. Okay, now equivalent fractions, hopefully you can remember that equivalent means equal or the same as. So if we had a pizza, now I'm going to draw you a terrible pizza, but if we had a pizza, here's our pizza. If I can cut it into half. Okay, now each piece should be exactly the same. Now I could cut one of the halves into half again, and now it's in quarters, but they're both, this half is still the same as these 2 quarters together. So the equivalent fraction here is 1/2 equals 2 quarters. Okay, now those of you, well, all of you know your 2 times table, so you should be able to spot the pattern here. Remember, when we're doing equivalent fractions, that whatever you do to the top number, you have to do to the bottom number. And that's always talking about timesing or dividing. Okay, so here we're timesing by 2, because 1 times 2, and we can put that in the middle there if you like, so you remember to do it. That's quite a good thing to do. 1 times 2 equals 2, and 2 times 2 equals 4. Okay, so we've simply done to the top what we've done to the bottom, and that is timesing it by 2. Now if we didn't know what that number there was, and we had that, we could, well, I suppose we can still put the equal sign there. We do the same thing, but we do the other way round. So we say, what have I done to 4 to get 2? Okay, so I've divided it by 2 this time, haven't I? Because I'm going the other way. I'm going that way this time. So if I've divided 4 by 2 to get 2, then I'm going to do exactly the same to our numerator, our top number. 2 divided by 2 equals 1. Okay, so it doesn't matter if you're going that way or if you're coming back this way. Whatever you do to the top number, you must do to the bottom number. And that is the key to doing equivalent fractions. So I think the My Maths lesson will take you about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, you don't need to stay on each section forever. I think it can keep going if you want it to. So I would just do 2 or 3 questions in each section until you know that you're doing it properly and you're secure with how you feel with it, and then move on to the next section. And yeah, I think 10-15 minutes max on the My Maths, and then you're going to go on to the sheet, which I've taken it from this book, but the sheet will look like the bottom part of that, and the sheet that I've attached is all equivalent fractions. So just remember, it says here you can change a fraction to an equivalent fraction by cancelling, so that's by dividing. Remember, divide by the top and the bottom number by the same number, or by multiplying. Okay, so you just need to decide which one works. There are 28 questions there, which should take you about 15 minutes. Okay, I don't mind if you don't get all of the sheet finished, but I would really like you to try and get at least the first 20 questions done. The last 8 questions are quite fun, actually. So hopefully you will have time to do them. When you have finished those questions, can you send that? So you need to do these in your maths book, I think. You could possibly do them. No, I don't think you can do them on the sheet. Well, you could. Yeah, it's up to you. But can you please send them in on Showbie? Fabulous. I look forward to seeing some of you at the Zoom lesson. If you come to the Zoom lesson, please make sure that you've looked at the sheet first and that, well, you've listened to this first. Would be helpful. Okay, be brilliant, and I will see you soon.